In this video, you'll learn how to use Blender's new hair system of 3.3 and use that to make stylized hair. You'll learn how to set up geometry nodes to produce this stylized hair that you see on the screen. You'll learn how to manipulate the stylized hair in ways that are hopefully pleasing to you. You'll learn how to take the stylized hair and convert that to an actual mesh that you would be able to bring out of Blender. You'll also learn how to apply modifiers such as Simple Deform. Hi, this is Ali Arango, and today I'm going to show you how to make 3D stylized hair in Blender 3.4 using geometry nodes. So let's get started. Okay, what you see on the screen is the result of two other tutorials. I'll put links in the description so you can get to those. Okay, as far as how I learned to do the basic setup for this, I want to give respect to Southern Shorty. His YouTube channel taught me how to do the basics of setting up as well as controlling the hair that we're about to make. So if you want to look into this making 3D hair more than this video, I recommend you check out Southern Shorty's YouTube channel. Okay, when you work in Blender, it's important that you recognize which mode you're in. Currently, the mode that I'm in is sculpt mode. So what we're going to do is we'll go to object mode, right? All right, as far as the body, this is currently selected. I'm going to press H to temporarily hide that. I'll select these hands and then press H to temporarily hide them as well. Okay, I'm going to hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box to zoom into this head. One of the things that we need is we need a base mesh to put the hair on, right? So when I select this hair, if I go to the upper right, this is the wireframe, right? So this is not good for what we're trying to do. I'm going to go to the upper right, select the viewport shading. Okay, so with this head selected, what we're going to do is we're going to hold Shift, press D. We're going to duplicate that head. We'll right click, right? This thing here is called the outliner. I'm going to hover here. So this sphere .001, this is the second head that we made that we're currently selected on, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to sculpt mode. Okay, we're about to use quad remesh on this, and basically what that means is we're going to drastically lower down the geometry count. Quad remesh is kind of an auto retopology mode inside of Blender. It's actually very good now. It's not good enough to do retopology on a character to have the body as far as like animations look very good or look good. However, it does an excellent job. Anyway, you'll see right now. So there's a couple ways to get the quad remesh. So if you look to the right, see this little triangle looking symbol with circles on it. If we click here, scroll down, you can see remesh here. There's two kinds of remesh. There's voxel as well as quad, right? So quad is here. I can click this and then I can click there. We're not going to do that. We're going to use Control-Alt-R. And then this is our quad remesh. So you can see this check mark is here next to use mesh symmetry. See where it says number of faces. I find that going to 500 for this works well. So I'm going to select OK. And you can see that number quad flow refresh is working. I might have deselected this in another edit. I'm going to do this again for the high poly head. Okay, so this is what the quad remesh gave us. This looks good to me. We're going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. Here in edit mode, we're going to select the base that our hair is going to go on. So we're going to go in Blender, you have vertex select, edge select, face select. I'm going to go to about here. I'm going to hold Alt, whoops. Go to edge select first, left click. I'll go here, hold Alt. When I hold Alt and I select this line, this entire loop will be selected. So I'm going to left click there. You can see there's the whole loop there, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift here. I'm letting go of Shift. I'm going to hold Control. That uses something called the shortest path technique. What the shortest path technique is when I clicked here and wherever I click, I'm holding down Control still. Kind of like the path in between is filled in. So I'm still holding Control. I'm going to let go of Control so I can rotate the view. I'm holding the middle mouse button to do that. I'm holding Control again. That's fine. So now I let go of Control. I'm going to hold Shift. Letting go of Shift. I'll select, I'm holding Shift here, letting go of Shift, holding Control. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this part here that I don't want selected, I'm going to press C for Paint Select, holding the middle mouse button. Paint Select allows you like paint a selection. I'm going to right click to get out of Paint Selection. And then what that did was when I hold the middle mouse button, go back into it, see, when I hold the middle mouse button you deselect, so same thing there. I'll deselect there. I'll right click. Then I'll hold Shift to select this line here. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button so it looks like, and I want it to have like the edge select complete, like all the way around. So all of the geometry like inside of these edges, what looks like that's the case. Now what I'm going to do is hovering here, which when I say here, I'm hovering below this line. I'm going to press V to rip, right? So by pressing V and being hovered over this geometry, all of this geometry should have separated from this edge here. So now I'll go to Phase Select. I'll hover over this geometry here, press L, hold the middle mouse button, take a look, and with all of this geometry here selected, I'll press X to bring up our delete menu, then I'll choose faces to delete. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. So when we did the remesh, this geometry isn't connected here. So the easiest way to deal with this, typically a lot of times in Blender, what I recommend you try to figure out, there's a lot of ways of doing things in Blender. You want to figure out what is your basic strategy or philosophy for how you want to do things. For me, most of the time I'm trying to do things at least what I perceive to be the fastest way. Anyway, I have edge select on. I'm going to hold Alt, right? I'm going to left click here. Alt allows you to select entire loops. In this case, it didn't. So I'm going to hold Shift. I'm holding Shift and Alt at the same time, which is allowing me to fairly quickly select this loop. I let go of Shift and Alt so I can rotate. I'm going to hold Shift as well as Alt again. So now I have this whole edge selected. So I'll zoom back by rolling the mouse button. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. I'll go to Vertex Select, right? See how this isn't matched up, right? Like these aren't connected. Because we have that whole loop selected, what I can do is press the M key. That brings up the merge menu. So you see that, all those options. I'm going to select by distance, right? And then this menu pops up that says merge by distance. When I open this up, I have this merge by distance slider. When I click here, some of the vertices match up, select there again, and now they're matched up. So that's how you deal with this situation of having these two sides not be connected. At least one way to deal with it. Okay, so with that done, we'll go to the upper left. We'll go to object mode. I'll zoom back by rolling the mouse button. We'll go to the outliner. Here's the sphere that represents is the high poly mesh. We'll select the eye to bring that head back, right? With this sphere selected, so we'll select here. We'll name this hair. So that this is our hair mesh. I just double clicked on that to have the ability to rename it. Okay, what we're going to do now is with this hair selected, you can see it's selected in the outliner. It's important that this is selected. We are currently in object mode. That is important as well. I'm going to hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add To menu. I'm going to the curve selection in Add, right? So now I'm going to go down to Empty Hair, all right? So now I'm going to left click. And with that left click, I now have my empty hair added on to the hair. Okay, when you look in the outliner and you see the hair, right, there's an arrow which lets you open up this option more. So we have hair, and then you can see like here's like sphere, and then there's curves, and the curves is selected. That's important for you to be able to get to this next step. It should be done for you automatically, but if some chance it isn't, you want to select this, curves here. So with that selected, you'll go to your object mode, you'll click there, go to sculpt mode, and then here in sculpt mode, instead of seeing the regular sculpt tools, now you'll see the hair sculpting tools. Okay, when we added that empty hair, there was a couple things done for us. This curves object was added. Up here, you can see layout, modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture paint, shading, animation, rendering, compositing, geometry nodes, scripting, right? These are layouts to make things easier for you to work with. You don't need to click here to get to the different things. As far as I know, you can get to them, just like we can use like what we're currently in layout. However, this makes things easier. Anyway, we are going to use this. We're going to click on geometry nodes, right? So when we click, and this is important here, so pay attention to this. See this deforms curve on surface, right? See this thing here? It says surface UV map not defined. All right. This is because we made our mesh from a duplicate of our main head mesh, right? It's pretty easy to fix when you know what to do, which I'm about to tell you. This actually caused me a decent amount of frustration when I was learning how to do this. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go to UV editing, right? And then we're going to go to object mode. So what we need to do is we need to select hair, because this is like this curves that's in the hair is selected. We need to select hair. You can tell this is right because the hair is actually outlined, right? With the hair selected, we go up to edit mode, right? And what you want to do with face select on, so we have vertex, edge, as well as face select on. You want to press A to select all of the faces, right? You're then going to press U to bring up your UV mapping menu, and your UV mapping menu. Then you're going to select unwrap. All right. So once this is done, when you look here, this UV map, see this UV map? This is the name of what was just made here, right? So what you need to do, and we're doing all this for that thing that says, in geometry nodes, we're going to click back to geometry nodes, right? Oops. All right, so we need to first, I'm going to go back to layouts. We need to click back on the curve now. So hair is selected, but we need to be actually selected on the curves in hair. So I select the curves, right? So now with the curves selected, I'm going to go to geometry nodes. So now we see these geometry nodes, right? And here's this thing, surface UV map not defined. So what we want to do with that is click on the object data properties for our hair. See this UV map right here. You'll select here, and then you'll select UV map, and then that goes away. Okay, what we're going to do now is zoom in, holding the mouse button to rotate. Okay, so you want to look to your right, look to where the wrench is at. So this is where your geometry nodes setup is for your hair, right? So we have this first thing right here, right? This surface deform, right? That's what you see right here. What you want to do is you want to go to where you see add modifier, right? Click the arrow, and then you're going to select geometry nodes. And then once you see this geometry nodes modifier here, you're going to select new. Okay, where we see geometry nodes here, we'll click, and we'll change the name from this, from geometry nodes to hair work. As far as I know, the name doesn't matter, other than helping you to identify what you're working with. Okay, so currently we're in object mode. What we want to do is go to sculpt mode. You can see here's our hair tools. Typically I like to select here and pull this to the side. Find that sculpting tool is easier to work with when I do that. Okay, currently you can't see the difference between the hair piece we want to work on and the head, so let's fix that. We're going to go to upper left, go to object mode. We'll look to the outliner, we'll select hair. With the hair selected, I'm going to pull this down. Just by hovering over this line, I can drag that down slightly if you want. Anyway, with this selected, I'm going to go to the edit mode of the hair mesh. Looks like it's currently selected. If it wasn't, you could press A, and that should select all of the faces, because we're currently on face select. You have vertex, edge, as well as face select. What you want to do with this mesh selected is you're going to press S to scale 1.02 and then left click. And that's, I gave you exact numbers. However, basically what you want to do is have the mesh come slightly outside of the hair, outside of the head, so you can see it clearly, but not too much. All right, so I'm going to go back to object mode, right? To get back to the curves, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to, here's the hair, which is this object here, right? I'm going to click here. Actually, while we're in this mode, I'm going to, this went to gray because we're in geometry nodes. If we go back to layout modes, which I'm not going to do right now, this would be a different color. When you switch modes, typically you'll have the default color, which is like gray. We're going to go to here, our shading, and then we're going to go down to random, and now you can actually see the difference between the hair and the head mesh. Okay, so we're on the hair mesh. We need to be on the curves mesh, right? So now when we click that, now we can see we're back to the geometry nodes. Remember, we named the second geometry nodes hair work, so you can see that we're back where we were before, which is where we want to be. Okay, when I said we're back, I meant we're back as far as the geometry nodes. However, we're still in object mode. We need to go to sculpt mode. Now here in sculpt mode, we can see there's our tools to work with our hair. If you've never worked with hair before, there's all kinds of different ways of doing it. This is my current favorite way of doing hair. There's all kinds of different geometry that's considered hair. This is just one particular way. So anyway, we'll go through these tools as as we make the hair. Hopefully that'll show you where these basic tools are. I think they're kind of they do a good job of explaining what they do. You should see what they do as we go along. This right here is very important because this adds the hair. Before we add the hair, I'm rolling the mouse wheel. I hovered my mouse over here, and then I rolled the mouse wheel to reveal this XYZ. If I hold the middle mouse button, I can drag this as well. So if you don't see it, see how it's off the screen there? You want to, look at that. It's I have a, whatever, in my mouse. So anyway, you want to be able to see X, Y, Z, right? You're going to click X. And the reason why you click X is because the work that you want, at least currently on this side, you want to happen on the other side as well. Okay, we're going to go to this add hairbrush. We have the symmetry turned on. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. So now I'll click here. And now you can see when I clicked here, on the other side, there was another hair placed there as well. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go to the hand to pan, just left clicking on the hand, holding the middle mouse button to rotate. See how the hair looks here? It looks like this line. This is the default. You should be aware that if you go to, looks like a camera, go down to curves, see this strand, you can change this to strip. And now you have this instead. This is another option when I go back to strand that I think you should know about. Okay, when you click on a tool, see how you can see the count here is 1. If I click this up to 5 and then I click there, see how 5 hairs came out? It's actually, Very nice. So if you want extreme control, you can just keep this at 1. That's probably what we'll do. If you want to get rid of those hairs, you go to this delete. You click on the hairs you want to get rid of, and then they're gone. Okay, something else you should be aware of. See the length of the hair, right? Suppose you want to make the hair longer. What you can do is with the Add brush, you go to curve shape, right? See the length 0.3. If I take this, let's take it to 0.8. Zoom back so you can see. See that? How long this hair came in at. So yes, you can control the length of the hair by changing this here. So even though this is grayed out, by changing this and then adding a hair, let you have longer hair length. So I'm going to go to this delete and get rid of that hair for now. Okay, one thing I realized we should do before we move on is to have like the base hair that's not just on the top of the hair. So we'll go to the lower left, we'll go to upper left, we'll go to layout. We'll go to object mode, we'll select on the head. We'll go to sculpting mode. I'm looking to my lower right to where we see view global / local. When I select local, we see just the head. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select right, so we're in the right orthographic view. I'm going to hold control, then press shift. Okay, I pressed it instead of holding it. Now I'm going to hold control, press shift. I'm holding it now. So this lets me draw this mask here. So what I'm doing is trying to draw a general hairline to go underneath the hair that we're making with the geometry nodes. Okay, the reason why we drew this was so we can extract this to make this basically be shorter hair. So with this, what you see here is a mask, is what we just made. We're going to go to mask. See the sharp line that's around there? We're going to select, it sounds weird, we're going to select sharpen mask, but that's actually going to smooth that line out. So we'll select sharpen mask. So then we'll go back to mask, and then we're going to select mask extract. Then we have these options here. That's fine. We'll select OK. And what Blender just did was it took the mask, made it into its own separate object. When I look to the modifier tab, okay, that's it used geometry nodes to make this. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, basically this is set up so we can change the thickness of this and make this basically shorter hair to be underneath of the main purpose of this tutorial, which is the geometry node hair. Okay, we're going to look to the right where we see this thickness. We're actually going to take this towards the left. So now we can see there's that thickness now in the hair. I don't want it quite that thick. I like how it is there. Okay, with this, the hair being how I generally want it to be, I'm going to go to this arrow, select here, select apply. So now with that done, what we're going to do is go into scope mode. So we're in the scope mode for this object that is the hair. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift, press R. This sets up our remeshing mode. So I'm going to drag this out to about here. Left click to lock that resolution in. I'm going to hold control, press R. So now I have this remesh here like that. Then I'll go to add modifier, select smooth to put a smooth modifier on here. For the factor, I'll change this to 1. And then for this repeat, I think it looks decent at 5. I'll go back to object mode, go to this smooth, and then I'm going to select this arrow, and then select this arrow, and then select apply. Okay, with all that done, I'm going to go to where we see view global slash local. This is the end menu. For some reason you don't see this, you press the N key. This will pop up. So I'll select that. So now we have our base, that we have our geometry nodes to work with. So I'll select that. And then I'm going to look to the outliner. You can see we're selected on the hair. So now when I look down to curves, I'll select curves. Then I'll go up to our geometry nodes workspace, and now we're where we should be. Okay, so this mesh here is this hair, so I'm going to select this eye to temporarily take that away. I'm going to roll the mouse. Select the hand to pan this up. So here we are back to our geometry nodes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in the basic nodes that will do most of the work for the stylized hair as far as making it. Okay, as far as bringing these nodes in, we'll hold shift, press A. We can go to these different settings for the nodes and then pick what we want. For the most part, we're going to use the search engine to do this. So we'll click in the search, and we're going to select curve. What we're looking for is curve to mesh. So there's curve to mesh. Okay, we're going to hold shift, press A. This time what we want is set curve to radius, so we'll put in set. There we go, set curve to radius. Now we want curve circle, so we'll hold shift, press A. You can see curve circle here. Okay, we're going to press shift A. Put in spline. We're looking for spline parameter. So we have this. So these basic things give you your basic, the start to your basic stylized hair. We're going to add more things on from here to give you more control over that hair. Okay, we're going to take this curve to mesh, put this here. We're going to go from set curve radius, curve to curve. This automatically disconnects. We'll drag this back, take this spline parameter, move this down, move the geometry from geometry input. This is going into the curve. This curve circle, we'll move this down. Whoops, move this over. We don't want that. If this is set curve radius is going curve to curve. Curve circle is going into the profile curve. Then prepare yourself for this. We're going to go from factor here to radius. As soon as we do this, you're going to see the geometry jump. Okay, I'll rotate the view so you can kind of see what's going on. So this basic setup gives us our, very strange looking general shape. What we do is we keep adding in geometry nodes to basically get what we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift, press A. We're going to search for color ramp. Take that. Put that there. Okay, the reason why this looks so strange is because of that curve circle radius. So we're going to take this and bring this down. Open the mouse button so you can see what's going on. And you can see how like this is kind of hollow here. If we select this fill caps, that fills in, right? We go up here to sculpt modes. We can see our tools. See how these are the direction they are. We want to flip these over, so we can do that by taking this black house and moving this here, taking the white house and moving it there. And then as we do that, you can see that that shape changed. Okay, for this radius, we'll take this down even more. See how this comes to a point right there? If we select this black house and then move this up, whoa, all the way, okay, you can see like how the color going from black to gray basically changes the edge of that. We're going to click the plus button to bring in another house. We'll move this up some here. And then as far as this shape, what we can do is go to grow shrink. So we'll select. So now we have this grown some. As far as this resolution, this is basically the edges going around. We can take this down to 5. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button, taking a look. Okay, so with this only basically having 5 edges, we kind of have things set up where this will look more stylistic, or it would look more stylistic if the shading wasn't smooth. So what I'm going to do is press Shift, press A, go to shade. So set shave smooth. I believe I learned this from Southern Shorty. So where it says shade smooth, I can click here and then take that away, and now that kind of looks more stylistic now. Okay, I'm going to take this X away. I'm going to slide this over like that. Okay, so the way this hair is now, to see like basically what's going on as far as the geometry with the hair, if we go to the object properties down to viewport display and then select wireframe, when I zoom in, just roll the mouse button, holding shift to pan, you can see how much geometry is there. It's a lot of geometry, right? So one of the things we can do to deal with that is we can go Shift A. Whoops. Okay, we want to put in, we want to look for a resample curve. So when we put this here, we can see the geometry is lowered down a lot more. As far as the count, we can take this down even further to 5. So that's, a decent amount of geometry. And when I say decent, I mean lowered down substantially, which is where I want it to be. So I'm going to take away this wireframe, right? So then you might sit there and say, well, look, it looks strange, and it does. So what we can do with that, given some space, hopefully you can still see these nodes, is I'm going to hold Shift, press A, and then I'm going to bring in a subdivision surface. Works very similar to a regular subdivision surface modifier in Blender. I'm going to put this here. So now we can see that the subdivision surface modifier, makes us have the appearance of having more geometry. I'm going to select Shade Smooth, turn that back on. So you might sit there and say, okay, this took away kind of like the edges we could see. So what you can do now is you can press Shift A, search for FI. This is what you want right here. Put this here like that. And then now you see this basically acts like a bevel. This is a fillet curve. I think it's how it's pronounced. So I'll take this radius down. So now you can see we have our stylistic look as far as our curves back again. I think it would help you to see the hair actually be shaped some. So right now the hair is just sticking straight up. As far as adjusting the hair, the main thing you'll use most of the time is this comb. However, the snake hook works very well. So what I want is for the hair to kind of come up and curve to the side. So what I'm going to do is take the snake hook, go right to the tip here and pull to the side. If I want to make the hair longer or shorter, I can go to this grow. When I click there, the hair grows. If I hold control, the hair will actually shrink because I'm holding control and left clicking now to have it shrink down. As far as the radius of the curve, we can go to the circle radius and then take this up. And when we take this up, we should be able to take the radius up here to get our stylized look back. As far as adding more hair that's basically in this shape, what we can do is go to this plus, add hair here, right? Go to this curve shape, click the arrow, select these 3 settings here. So now when I click, Blender automatically tries to bring hair in that is already set up like what we've previously done. One of the things you should be aware of, this basic shape is being made by this circle curve. If I press Shift A, and this time I'm going to go to curve primitives, right? There's a circle curve. If we go down to quadrilateral, if I put this here, this takes the place of the circle curve. If I take this down, and then I take this height down, you can see we get a whole different shape basically. So I just wanted you to know, like you could try different curve primitives and get different shapes. That being said, I'm going to disconnect this. I am going to go back to the curve circle. Okay, one of the ways that you can make working with the hair easier is if you go to object mode, we'll click the hair, and then what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift A, go to curve, and then select empty hair. We'll click back on the hair again, Shift A, curve, empty hair, click back on the hair again. The hair is, the scalp. Shift A, curve, and then empty hair. So we have all of these different groups. We have, 4 different groups right now, right? Okay, so now that we have all these different groups, we're going to go back to our original hair curve group. I left clicked and dragged to drag that circle out over everything. I'm going to hold control, press C. So I copied all of these different nodes. Now I'm going to go to curves 1, select these, press X. To delete the nodes that were previously there, hold control, press V. Go to curves 2. Okay, we're selected, press X to delete, control V. Same thing here, X, control V. Okay, the reason why we did that was so that we can, we didn't have to redo doing all these nodes, right? So we'll go back to curves 1, right? If I go to curves, these look exactly the same because they're copied and pasted. However, I'll go to this curve base and I'll select here, drag this node out, and then when I click curves 1, you see how the node isn't. And the reason why I'm showing you that is to show you that these are actually different, and that's important because that allows us to apply different things to each hair group. So basically, the plan is to have this hair group here, another one like to the side here, another one to the side there, another one up top, and then maybe another one for small details. Okay, my basic plan is to have like 4 of these big shapes to start off with on each side. So we're selected on this curves .001, and so we'll go to sculpt. Here's the plus, and then we'll click to put in these shapes here. We're going to go back to object mode, go to curves 2, hold the middle mouse button to rotate. We'll go back to sculpt. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go back to object mode, go to curves. Go to sculpt. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, so for this curves group, we're going to go to object mode, curves 1, go to scope mode, and then here we'll start adjusting the hair. I want the hair to go that way. So I'm gonna, let's try to comb. I think that snake hook will work better here in this sense. Be aware we're on sphere as well. There's sphere and projected. Sphere tends to, sphere is like the, think of like how the brush grabs. So it's almost like I'm grabbing with a globe, or almost as if the circle was like a 3D sphere, where projected is kind of like a flat sphere. However, projected does do good for selecting like through objects very well. So once we get these hairs in a basic shape, one of the things we can do is we can go to this slide brush. And this slide brush is very nice as it allows us to fairly easily slide these hairs around. I'll go to the comb brush. Then what we can do, because we have the different nodes set up, we can actually go to the radius and increase the radius. When we make the hairs bigger, we should be able to adjust here to make them, have that like kind of sharp look to them again. Okay, one thing you should be aware of, see how I have this hair selected here, this is curves.001, right? Suppose I click curves 2, you can see it selected, right? If I click just there, I go to, I'm in scope mode. If I try to move scope, I cannot move these, right? So to not have this happen, I'll click back on curves 001. You can see like I can move these hairs. What you want to do is go back to object mode, go to curves 2, then go, which that you're, in object mode, right? Then go to scope mode, and now you can see, now I can move these like I want to move them. I'm going to go to slide to slide these up. You can see how the hairs, whoops. Oh, I'm still okay. Still on slide. Thought I was on comb. I find that snake hook really works well for shaping the hairs. And if you get a thing like this, you can go to, like when I say thing, I mean this like kind of odd shape. You can go to smooth and then just smooth the hairs out. So very, very nice just how the system, not just how the system actually works is very nice. So I'm going to go to object mode, go to curves. Curve 3, I should say, go back to scope mode. I'm going to go to snake hook. Be aware that like snake hook, if you grab like right on the top, it tends to work even better as far as like giving you a very definitive curve. I'm going to slide. Like how we have these hairs, like I did 4 pretty much on all of the sides. You don't have to stay at 4, so what I can do is, come in here and just, not just, add, I can come and add more hairs, like you see, to fill that area there. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, I'm going to click, when I go to object mode, I'm going to click back on curves 1. There's some more nodes we can use to have even more, to give us even more the ability to adjust these curves. So I'm going to hold shift, press A. We're looking for set curve tilt. There it goes. I'm putting this right after set curve radius. And basically what this does is when I select here, see, we can actually tilt, see, we can see the hair actually tilting. Pretty useful. Okay, there's something else we can add, and that is a float curve. So I'm going to hold shift, press A. We'll go to search, type in float. There's float curve, and I'm going to try to put this in a place where it doesn't, there we go, doesn't make anything disconnect. And where you want to put this is right after the color ramp. Okay, the way this works is if I zoom in here, so you can see, I'll zoom into the float curve. So you can see here, I hold the mouse button to pan. If I put a dot here, when I pull down, you can see this gets sharper. Push up, it gets thicker. If I want to put another dot in, I'll click here. This gives me even more control as I move this around, so you can experiment with this. If I want to get rid of this dot, I can click the X button here. So now I'm back to 1 dot, which gives you simpler control just using the 1 dot. So depending on how much control you want, you can play around with this. Okay, so that we can have these extra controls on all of the hair, we'll hold A, or press A, hold control, press C. We'll select curves 1, press A to select everything, press X, control V. Go to curves 2, X to delete everything, control V. Curves 3, X to delete everything, and then control V to put those other nodes in. Okay, I'm going to click on the curves. This curves 1 for the, okay, curves .001. I'm going to temporarily hide them. Go back to curves. And then for this, I'm going to go to scope mode. I'm going to zoom in. Go to curve circle. I'm going to take up the radius to make it bigger. That kind of soften things up. So I'm going to go to fillet curve, increase this. I'm going to go to the slide to slide these hairs over. Too much slide, too much. Pretty neat, actually. In fact, you can slide these things like this. And see how they're floating above the head. Don't let that get to you. That's very easy to deal with. Try to not focus on that for now. I'm gonna get a snake hook brush, make this longer. Go to the comb brush. Add like more shape to there. Okay, as far as like the hair floating there, what you can do is go to object mode, go to hair. Then you can press S to scale down this hair. And then just by scaling that down, that makes it look like the hair is more attached. Okay, something else we'll do is we'll go to our hair base that we made before. We'll bring this back. And then what we'll do with this is we'll go to scope mode for this. Oops. Click on the mesh. There we go. Now we'll go to scope mode. What I want to do here is go to elastic deform. This is the regular scope mode in Blender. Elastic deform is very good for modifying things without them getting modifying things while keeping things in control, like this hair. So what I'm doing is I'm dragging this hair to cover more of the base. I'm going to go to inflate to make that hair come out. We have this X here, right? Be aware of that. So whatever we do to the one side should be done to the other side. We're going to go to inflate and make this hair come out more there on the side. This around here, we'll do that as well. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Right around this edge, I'd like for this to be sharper, so I'll go to crease brush. I'll hold control. By holding control, this allows me to have like a sharper edge here. So I'm not going like right to the edge. I'm kind of aiming like almost like an inch away from the edge to sharpen along the edge of the hair there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to hold them in the mouse button and rotate. I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to click on these hairs right here. I'm going to go to sculpt mode. I'm going to go to the minus brush. I'm going to take away a bunch of these hairs. Actually, I'll take away all but one. I'm going to go to the radius, increase the radius. I'm going to use the snake hook brush to increase the length like this. I'm going to go to the flat curve node, add more detail, go to the comb brush. And the reason why I'm doing this is by setting up the one hair, right? We can set up one hair, so I deleted those other hairs. By setting this up, I want this to cover most of the top of the head is what I'm trying to do. Not the, top, most of the area where it's at. And what my plan is to make this basically lay across the top of the head. And then once I have that, I can go to the add brush, right? Because we have this selected, now when we come in, these other hairs lay just like the other one, which is very nice. We can take the slide brush, position these, and of course we can use our nodes to also help position. I'll go to snake hook. Okay. I'm going to go to the object mode, go to curves 1, bring these hairs back, zoom in, with them selected in object mode. I'll go to scope mode. I'm going to go to the radius, bring this up to 0.6, take the curves up. I'm going to go to the snake hook brush and drag these over. Now I'm going to go to the slide. Try to slide them up. Maybe I'll take the radius down by 1. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Want these here. So with that selected, I'll go back to object mode. You see when I'm in object mode, I select this again. They're orange color instead of red, so I can work with them. So I'm going to go to scope mode now. I want these to go down, so I'm going to use the snake hook brush. See when I zoom in how there's like a pop, right? That I'm rolling the middle mouse button. If I hold control and hold the middle mouse button and I push in, I get a smooth zoom. I'm going to select the hand to pan, hold the middle mouse button, rotate. I'm on the snake hook. I'll pull this down. There we go. This one here, I'm going to go to the minus to get rid of that one. Okay, I'm going to go to the curve circle radius. Take this up to 6. Go to the select curve. Take that to 0.55. Take this down by 1 the radius. I'll take this select curve down by 1 because that looked too sharp. I'm going to go to the plus because I have the add hair tool, I guess it is, or it is curve shape because I have this length shape point count selected. Now when I click, these hairs come in like those hairs over there, which is nice. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, you can continue tweaking the hairstyle. What I would like to do is show you how you can turn these geometry nudes or set them so you could change this into a mesh. So basically turn this into something that can come outside of Blender. Okay, before doing that, if we go to, looks like a square, this is your object properties button. If you go down to viewport display, if you select wireframe, right? So this here, you can see the basic geometry of your hair, right? If you look to this resample curve, if I take this down to 4 and then down lower than that, you'll see that your geometry will lower down. So be aware that you can lower your geometry down even more with that. When I zoom up close, basically right here, might be difficult to see, right here, odd shapes, and these odd shapes are from, when I say odd shapes, what I'm talking about is the topology of getting this point right here. I find that it adds extra geometry and it tends to cause issues. So to deal with this right here is what I'm talking about. So these faces here as well as like this goes around. Kind of makes like a very strange group of faces here. If you uncheck fill caps, this will be open. However, you'll dump a bunch of geometry and you'll get rid of a bunch of issues. You also can fill in these later on. So I recommend you take away this fill caps. So what we're going to do is go to object mode. That's curves.002. So we'll go here, take off fill caps, curve 1, take off curve fill caps, curves 3, and then we'll take off the fill caps there as well. Okay, I'm going to go to curves.002, go to viewport display, take off wireframe. I'll zoom back. You can see the hair basically looks the same even with the wireframes. The fill caps taken off. I'll click on this hair right here. Okay, so this is the hair we're going to first convert to basically basic geometry, right? You don't have to be selected on this to click this. To work with this. I clicked on it, I guess, because I was thinking like this is what we're going to work on. Anyway, we're going to press the N key. We're going to go to View, 3D Navigation, Front View. I'm going to hide this reference. We'll zoom in here. See where this 3D cursor is at? This is important. You don't want the 3D cursor here for what we're about to do. So to get the 3D cursor back to the center of our scene, what you're going to do is hold Shift and press C. So what that did was that put the 3D cursor back in the center of the scene. Blender jumped out. I'm going to hold Shift, press B to draw a zoom box to zoom back in. I'm going to select the hand to pan. The reason why we move the 3D cursor here is we want to bring in a plane. So I'm going to hold Shift, press A. We're bringing in a regular plane. I'm talking about geometry. We're not bringing in a geometry node, even though we're still in the geometry node tab. This is just like bringing in a cube. We're bringing in a plane. All right. So there's the plane. Now, when we brought in this plane, because we're selected on here, the geometry nodes that were on the hair are not on this because it's just a plane, or it is a plane. It doesn't have anything on it. Okay, so basically what we want is one plane for each of the hair curves. So we're going to hold Shift, press D, right click, hold Shift, press D, right click, hold Shift, press D, right click. Oh, right click there. We have 3 planes, so plane 1, plane 2, plane 3, Shift D, right click. Now we have 4 planes, one for each of the hair curves. Okay, we're going to click back on plane 1. Again, this is regular geometry, right? Just like a cube. We're going to go to the modifier. We're going to go to add modifier, and then we're going to add a geometry nodes modifier to this plane, right? So we'll select new. So now we have this geometry node set up here. What we want to do is hold Shift, press A, search for object. We want object info. Then we're going to press Shift, press A. We're going to search for realize instances. Okay, I'm going to move this object info down into this line. This will detach once I do that. We'll push that off to the side. It's fine. This realize instances. We'll put this here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click here and then select curves. And when we did this, it came slightly off. I zoomed in slightly so you can see it. So almost, and I'm not sure why this came in slightly off, but basically what this is doing is this is a duplicate of the geometry made hair curve setup that we did, stylized hair setup that we did just as geometry, or as geometry. And because we have this setup, what we can do is, we're not going to do it now, but we're about to do it. We're able to apply this geometry. And once we do that, this will be pretty much regular mesh. This will replace the plane with the shape of this hair. Okay, be aware that after you change this to a mesh, you won't be able to, work with geometry nodes to change the hair using geometry nodes. However, you will be able to work with the hair where you can change it using, the regular Blender tools, the regular tools in Blender. So what we're going to do is select these two nodes, hold Control, press C, go to plane 1, add modifier, geometry nodes, select new, Control V, connect this. Okay. There we go. So now we'll go to 2, add modifier, geometry nodes, new, Control V. You can disconnect this here as well, then just connect there. Plane 3, add modifier, geometry nodes, new, Control V. We'll disconnect here, connect this to there. Plane 4, add modifier, geometry nodes, new, Control V. So I'm going to connect this from here. Oh, look at that. Okay, we'll put this here, connect there. So now we have this set up for all of our hair curves. We have everything set up for all of our hair curves to be converted to regular geometry. Okay, we have our geometry set up to convert to geometry except for one thing. So this says curves. We need to change that to curves 1. Go to plane 2. Change this to curves 2. Curves 3. So plane 1 is what? Curves. Curve 1, curve 2. Curve 3. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do is go to plane, apply, the next one down, click apply, the next one, apply, the next one, apply. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button and rotate. There's one extra plane that we don't need, so I'm going to right click this, select delete to get rid of that. Okay, the geometry nodes are still there if you want to go back and work with them. Here in the outliner you can see them, so I'm going to hide the curved as well as the mesh connected to that geometry node. And now we're going to go to layout, hold the middle mouse button, rotate. Okay, these are all separate hair meshes. There's advantages to keeping these as separate hair meshes. However, I recommend you join them together. To do that, I'm going to click here, hold shift. I'm still holding shift, left clicking here, still holding shift, left clicking there, still holding shift, left clicking here. Now I'm letting go of shift. With all of those different, shift allows you to select more than one object at a time. With all of those different meshes selected, I'm going to hold control, press J. Now all those different meshes are one mesh now. Okay, now that these are all one mesh, there's different things you can do. So see right here how like this is pushed away from the head. We can go into edit mode. I'm on face select. There's vertex, edge, as well as face select. I'm going to hover here, press L. So I have all of them. So what I'm going to do is push these towards the head like that. Okay, here in edit mode, if you're on face select and you hover over an object, so these are all individual objects. If you press L, you'll select that entire object. So I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate. These are not where I want them to be, so I'll hover, I'll press L. When you use L, you can select more than one object at a time. Hold them in the mouse button to rotate without deselecting. I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. I'll hover here, press L, move this up. Left click on nothingness to deselect, press L, move that up. Left click on nothingness to deselect, press L, move that up. Left click on nothingness to deselect, press L, move that up. Left click on nothingness to deselect. I'll hold them in the mouse button to take a look, and you can fine tune. You can also go, okay, we can see like right from here, this isn't right. So we can go to sculpt mode. We can use Blender's regular sculpt tools. So I'll press F. I can increase my brush. What I can actually do is like for things like this, I should be able to go to snake hook and pretty quickly, worked out well, work with things like that. Other things you should be aware of. So yeah, this is Blender's regular, these are Blender's regular sculpt tools, and you have those to work with. You should be aware that if you go to object mode, go to modifiers. One modifier that I find works pretty well with this is if you go to simple deform. As soon as I put this on, you can see like the hair start to change. But if I select the angle and move the angle, see I can get like slight adjustments there. If I select bend, same thing, I can get slight adjustments there. Taper, same thing, pretty short. Shape doesn't, even shape, yeah. So this is a nice thing where you can get simple, adjustments very quickly. I'm going to take this off. Okay, I'm about to bring this tutorial to an end. However, I did want to show you this. I'm going to go to edit mode. So we have this opening here, right? So a fairly easy way to close these openings. If I go to edge select, hold Alt, then select here. I select that entire edge, right? If I hold Control, then press F, this brings up our face options. If I select grid fill does a decent job, if you can see that, of filling in the geometry. So you can do that for all of these different pieces of mesh. And yeah, that'll get rid of that. It does a pretty decent job of filling this in, and if this concerns you, you won't have to be concerned with that. If you wanted to fill up all the holes, like suppose you weren't concerned about topology, you wanted to do this as a 3D print, you could go to select by trait, and then non-manifold. If you press F, it's going to give you not good topology, but all of your different non-manifold places like here as well as here will be filled in. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go towards the top of the screen, go to object mode, roll the mouse wheel to zoom back, hold the mouse button to rotate the screen, then left click to deselect. Throughout the years, there's many different ways that I've used to make hair. Typically for hair for myself, if the hair is made in a way where I cannot easily animate it, I'm probably not going to be interested in it. So most of the time I'm more interested in stylistic hair. I like this way of making hair by far the best so far out of the different ways that I've used to make hair in Blender. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and we share them, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel, you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.